Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from IRSportsDaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Thursday, September 11th. We're going to preview Notre Dame versus Texas A&M in Notre Dame Stadium this weekend. I will be at the game, so if you're out and about, you see me walking around, feel free to say hello, say hi to me. That would be great. I love interacting with people who listen to our show, and we're going to talk about the game, give our preview, offense and defense, and what things need to happen. I think it's around this time we've gotten our full kind of look at Texas A&M and what they're bringing to the table. Talk about that, make some predictions at the end. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. If you like what you hear, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you know whatever it is we are going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ga Wang, and Chicago's go-to for the best custom suits, shirts, and sport coats. As Notre Dame reloads for the season, now's the time to refresh your wardrobe and add the perfect suit, sport coat, tuxedo, or casual jacket for fall. ESQ's master tailors combine next-level craftsmanship with the finest fabrics to deliver a fit that's built just for you. Now with showrooms both downtown Chicago and in Winnetka, book your custom fitting at esqclothing.com and step into confidence with Chicago's finest. Mention ISD at your appointment and receive 10% off your entire purchase. That's esqclothing.com. Jamie, Marcus Freeman is meeting with the media right now, or he's talking with the media. Scrap Richardson being used as scout team quarterback to kind of mimic the Marcel Reed situation. So that's going to be interesting. I'll talk some recruiting stuff as well. It's a huge recruiting weekend for Notre Dame, as covered on IRSportsDaily.com. Jamie, where do you fall on the must-win nature of this upcoming game for Notre Dame?
I mean, I think it is a pretty darn close to a must-win. Like, I don't want to say for sure that they're done if you know, because there's other factors that go into it, right? Like there's still a long season ahead, but you know, these are probably going to be the two best teams. You know, Miami and Texas A&M are probably going to be the two best teams that Notre Dame plays all season in terms of like where they're ranked, where they're, you know, talent-wise. They're like measuring stick games. They're games that when the CFP committee looks at it, they're going to examine, like, be like, well, I mean, one of the big things with Notre Dame lost the Northern Illinois game, not good. But they're like, well, they went on the road and they beat Texas A&M and they were like won in the fourth quarter. Like that kind of stuff matters. And when you don't have a lot of those other games to point to, like it looks like Boise isn't going to be one of those games that people can point to now. And we don't know what it's going to be like with Navy later on or something. And, or where USC, hey, they look great beating up a couple of patsies early on, but like, where are they going to be? What if they get whooped on the road at Illinois right before? Like there's all these kind of things that can play into it. So there's a lot of ball game left, but I would say it's a very important game for Notre Dame to win.
But you want to beat the good teams too. I mean, just practically speaking, right? Like that's kind of what this schedule is about. It's uncommon for your toughest opponents to be your first two games. You know, we understand it's kind of an anomaly that way, and Miami chose it that way, or the conference chose it that way. It is what it is. But you got to win you want to beat the good teams on your schedule. I think so. Practically speaking, it absolutely is, in my opinion. Just for I don't want to do the playoff, implications thing. It's there's too much to happen. There's so much that can go on. You got to see, but practically speaking, I think it's hard to make a case if you're not going to win this game. And so it is kind of in a must-win situation for me. I do think it's different though, just in terms of, in previous years when you had your transfer quarterbacks, you had your Sam Hartmans, you had your Jack Cones, you had your Riley Leonards, like you bring those players in order to make the playoffs and go deep. And when that chance gets kind of eliminated, it kind of makes the season like, what are we really doing? When you have a young quarterback like CJ Carr and you have a young roster, there is great utility in continuing on and having goals, winning 10 games, winning 9 games, whatever it might be. because of the fact that that's going to be your quarterback for the future going forward. You know, you're building towards something. You can start building towards the 2026 season and all that right now. You have a young roster still. So I don't think it's – in other years, you could – like if Riley Leonard was knocked out, you know, let's say they lost to Texas A&M, then lost to NIU to start last year. You're kind of like, man, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing with this guy? That's not the case in 2025 with the new quarterback.
You know what? It's interesting too that you brought up like the thing about like the young quarterback and all that too, because I think one thing, whatever, and then we can move on to the actual game because we don't want to get too much into the stuff. But I do think that what's interesting now is that, you know, there used to be guys like, I mean, there were dudes who like opt out during the season, right? Or like, whatever, right? Like that. You can't do that anymore now because you got a contract. Like people, you're getting paid, and you're not getting paid unless you play, right? So that's going to be something that I think like just not really for a Notre Dame perspective, but I'm just thinking of like a larger college football perspective. Like, so like Duke paid a ton of money for that quarterback, right? To transfer there. If they stink, like, you know, later on, like they lost to Illinois. It's not like a bad loss. Illinois is a good football team, but like, let's say they're not going to make a bowl game or whatever, right? Like this could happen to Duke. I mean, in another situation, maybe that guy checks out, or you like play the guy for the future going on. It's like, it's all different now. And it is interesting to kind of think about all that, those different aspects of it and how that's going to change later on. I wonder if we're going to see like way more of that, like become storylines later on for teams.
Yeah. So, you know, we're monitoring. Big game for Notre Dame. It's home opener as well. Let's get into the actual game. So let's talk about quarterback Marcel Reed for Texas A&M. I will say, like, as a comparison to last year in terms of his poise and everything else, like I think he's greatly grown, right? He's not like a complete quarterback as of now, but I'm impressed with him. I think the thing that stood out to me when watching their first two games is he just got a ton of time, and he's working with perfect pockets a lot of the time. I mean, you mentioned it in your six thoughts today. He's only under pressure 18% of the time. 13 of the 74 dropbacks he's been under pressure. When he's not pressured, he's in a clean pocket. He's averaging like 69% completions, 8.9 yards per attempt, and he's thrown 6 touchdowns. Not under pressure, 5 of 10. Or when he is under pressure, 5 of 10, 46 yards, 4.6 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown. Last year, the numbers were very drastic. I mean, he was pressured a lot more. 32% of the time he was pressured. He had a 38 grade when pressured versus a 78.8 grade for offense, 80.3 passing grade versus 29.4, right? So that's a huge drop-off. 4.4 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on 96 dropbacks when pressured, 39% completion percentage. When not pressured, in a clean pocket, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 8.7 yards per attempt, and 67% completions. Now, it's going to be true for every quarterback you play. Pressuring them makes them worse, right? Yeah. But like this is a little bit different. It's a little bit more drastic. Like the big plays aren't, because sometimes you can mix big plays with kind of poor plays when you're pressuring a quarterback. It's not really the case with Marcel Reed. It's very, very important that Notre Dame gets pressure on Marcel Reed in this game.
I mean, it's hugely important. I think if you look at where Notre Dame was the defense, one of the reasons they played such good pass defense, yeah, they have great players in the secondary, but you can't. Who cares about your secondary if you're not getting pressure, right? If you're not, like, that's everyone kind of knows that, right? Like, and one of the things with Notre Dame, you know, last year is like, okay, they couldn't get pressure consistently with 4, so they had to send more. It's like, well, this is a game. It's different because it's not the same as going against Carson Beck because he is known for getting the ball out much quicker. Like, so 2.4 seconds, that's how quick he was getting the ball out. Like, that is extremely quick, right? Like, that's how he was fast he was getting the ball out. Marcel Reed in the first, 2 games, 2.8 seconds. Last year, 3.11. It was the 8th highest out of all Power 4 quarterbacks, right? So he's a guy who holds on the ball longer. He's trying to create things. He's trying to do a little bit more. He's not processing as quickly, right? Like all that kind of stuff matters. But pressure matters. Containing him, obviously, you want to contain him as a runner and all that, and we get into that. But like, you got to make him pressured. You got to give him different looks. There's all of that, and he's better in the pocket, obviously. I think it's it's natural. Like a guy who goes from a first year starting quarterback to second year, he's going to get better. But like, he was atrocious last year. I think that's like based on the numbers, like 64.6 PFF passing grade, 114th in the country last season out of all eligible passers. 32.3% on target rate on deep throws, bottom 20th percentile. 59th out of 67 Power 4 quarterbacks, 150 plus dropbacks and adjusted completion percentage. Accuracy is an issue. Like it is an issue. And I think he's barely, like we mentioned, 17.6% pressure, barely pressured this year. His completion still below expectation, right? Shout out to CFB numbers. You got that graphic up there. You can check it out on Six Thoughts. And this is something that I think are really interesting, right? Where through this first read, 74.1% of the time, first 2 games, accurate throw rate is only 50%. And accurate throw rate, that isn't your completion percentage, right? It's like, did you put it on a guy? Like ball placement, right? Like that's what it is. And obviously, like that is 50% when you're throwing to your first read, that like 3/4 of the time, and you're not pressured that much. That's like bad. That is actually really bad. So that hasn't changed. Like that is still an issue for him. So this guy, like in terms of his profile, and in just comparison sake to Carson Beck, first game of the season, 70.4% in first read. His accurate throw rate is 60%. And he's obviously one of the more accurate guys out there. Like that is what he's known for. That's and it's a totally different thing going against Reed, like who holds the ball longer, whatever, isn't as accurate. So this is the kind of quarterback. And yes, he's better. And I've seen him make some really, really impressive throws, like over the middle. He does his best over the middle. Like he can sling it, right?
Yeah.
But this kind of quarterback is the kind of quarterback that Notre Dame in the last couple of years, probably the last 3 years, really, they ate this guy up. Afterwards, the game, people were like, that guy was a fraud. That's how people treated it because Notre Dame's pass defense just like made that guy look bad. Like it's like, well, he threw for completed 48% of his passes. Right. And it was like, 2.0 YPA less than his regular average and all that kind of stuff, because it's like they made it so in terms of pressure, in terms of coverage and the types of coverage and all of that, they made it so difficult for a guy like that to be at his best. Like he was never at his best. And that went for anyone who was not like top tier or didn't have like, Will Howard's, the guys he's throwing to at Ohio State, right? So that to me is like, that's a big measuring stick for Notre Dame's defense in this game. And I know it's early, and obviously there's an adjustment to Chris Ash's defense, and there's all of that, and there's no Xavier Watts, and this is a different game. It's a first home game, all this kind of stuff, right? But it's still a pretty big measuring stick because this is the kind of guy that just strictly as a passer, forget it, take out the scrambling and all that kind of stuff. Strictly as a passer, this guy would have a terrible game against Notre Dame's defense last year. Even the improved version of him, not the team. Yeah. So it wouldn't have mattered if he would have played in that game, whatever. He probably would have had a Connor Weigman type of day against Notre Dame last year, right? So we'll see, where it's at, with him as a passer in this game. And that's why, like, if you look at it and if you think that Notre Dame, like, when they play this, they're going to be better. They're going to, they're going to be closer to what everyone expected them to be this season, closer to what they were last season, all of that. Then he should not have a good day throwing the ball. Not that they won't make plays. They have Mario Cravers. He's got some crazy speed, right? Like Casey Concepcion. They have guys who can make plays. I don't expect them to have zero explosive plays like they had last year. It would be extremely disappointing for Notre Dame's defense if this guy had any kind of even like above a decent day as a passer.
How would you compare? I think they're different styles too in terms of the size, but how would you compare like A&M's receiving core? I think we talked a little bit about like a comparison to the Louisville game. Just start some receiving core now. How would you compare the two?
I think, the Louisville is probably a good comparison because they didn't really have, even though Chris Bell was a bigger guy or whatever, right? But like if you take like Chris Bell, God, I'm forgetting the other guys.
Ja'Cory Brooks. Where he was taller. He wasn't very thick, but he was a taller guy.
Yeah, and then the slot the transfer slot that I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but like all those guys could get vertical, and they were like tough. Like I would say they're lacking the Chris Bell. They're lacking that guy because I wouldn't put like Ashton Bethel Roman, who's like this is really like second. It's going to be his third game doing it, and what he's seen. Lacey, thank you, John Imperial. I think you would look at those two guys, Lacey and Brooks, and you would say those guys are similar to Concepcion and Craver in terms of like, man, if you give them these guys space, they can kill you after the catch. They can get vertical down the field. They can make big plays. And that's why too, it's going to be key because they might win. Of course, if you put guys in one-on-one situations, they're going to win some of the times. That's why you got to get pressured, and you got to make sure that guy is not on the money when he's throwing. He doesn't have the time to load up and make that perfect throw, right?
Well, plus
Colin Lacey, yeah.
I mean, plus Tyler Shuck was, amazing in that game, and that was kind of what I wanted to. That's kind of what I wanted to emphasize as well. It's like the Louisville game that we talk about. It wasn't just that, they had good receivers, right? And I think the running games are kind of similar too. Like I thought, like Louisville, they had good running backs. They didn't really emphasize it. They ran the ball okay in that game. They didn't run the ball great, which is kind of like I don't. It would be surprising.
They schemed up a couple plays.
They schemed up some stuff, and I kind of feel like that's what A&M needs to do. Like they do have a good offensive line, and I get that. And I let Trey Zune, whatever his deal is, I don't even know how I feel about that situation anymore. Let's just assume he plays and is fine. Like I do think they can, but they haven't really run the ball that great in the first two games either. So no. I kind of view them similar. The thing is that I just thought Tyler Shuck was so good in that game, and that's what made Louisville such a viable team in that particular matchup. And look, Marcel Reed could play a great game. He absolutely could, right? And especially if Notre Dame, because the thing is like we're basing it off of what Notre Dame's defense was last year. We didn't really see that, right? Like Notre Dame was able to pressure Tyler Shuck in that game, and he was able to do things under pressure that were just unbelievable. I don't know that we can count on not just Marcel Reed, any quarterback to kind of perform under that kind of pressure. Just generally speaking, like going into a game, I don't know that it's the expectation, right? But it is there. But we're also assuming like that Notre Dame is the same caliber of defense. They're going to get the same caliber of pressure that they got last year. That didn't happen in the Miami game for reasons that Notre Dame can change. But like if they're the similar kind of pressure team, that then they're in I don't want to say a bad way, but they're in.
Well, they're going to be in a bad way against everybody if they can't get that kind of pressure, right? Yeah. Like you can't be. You got to get. And that really is too. Like if the pass rush doesn't get there, like who cares if you could say, well, we want to rush 4 because you want to do this. Like if you rush 4, you don't get pressure. It doesn't even matter. Like it's just like it. you can't be like that. You have to get guys, and I believe me, I do think like I think Boubacar is going to eat in this game. Like I think there's going to be that. Like he was pretty good in the Miami game. I think he's going to be even better in this game, right? Like I don't think even if Zune is healthy or whatever, right? And I don't think I don't think either of those guys are as good as Mauiaga, right? Like certainly Markel Bell is worse than those two guys.
Yeah.
But the Miami's left tackle. But yeah, I think you bring up a great point about the Louisville game and the pressure there, because if you look at that game, that was the one game where Howard Cross was phenomenal in that game, rushing the pass from the inside. Jason Onye, this is big. Onye is an important guy in this game. He got a couple of big pressures in that game. KVA had that big sack. They did a ton of stuff with the blitz. Obviously, third down, it was beautiful to watch what they were doing on third down with like the pressure stuff with Watts. They brought Bimo off the edge that one time, and he caused it was a fumble that was called not a fumble, but like that kind of stuff. Like I don't know. I mean, there was just a lot of good in that game, and really the way that Tyler Shook played in that game was the reason why he was drafted high. Like that is 100%. That's the tape that people throw. The one sidearm throw that he made, which was incredible. That's the play that got replayed over and over again for any NFL draft people who were like, "Oh, this guy could be something," right? So, and I haven't seen Reed. I mean, I haven't seen Reed do that with that kind of throws or like make that kind of plays within the pocket. His thing is going to be like, obviously, he's going to run a lot more and he's going to be able to escape. And I think if you look at like say last year, they will. I think they're going to do more design runs for him this game than they have early on. He scrambled more than he's done design runs. But of course, you're playing these other teams. You're going to be pretty vanilla. They're not going to do a bunch of stuff. They also don't want to get him hurt. He already got hurt in that Utah State game, so they don't want to like add wear and tear there. But that'll be interesting to see too. Like if he's really like kind of banged up, if he's got like a bad non-throwing hand or whatever, it's like they might not want to run him as much as you think or whatever, right? We also don't know if like it could have been his neck, could have been his head, whatever. They never tell you exactly what it is. Yeah. They should have to tell you know what though? They should have to tell you more specifics. And I know they're cagey about it in the NFL, but the NFL, like the reason that they do it, have like injury reports is the gambling. Well, the gambling is like, it's a huge thing in like, it's legal now. So, I mean, you think, and I'm not even talking about just like, Notre Dame is actually pretty honest. When it comes to this kind of stuff, they're definitely a lot more honest than most teams. Everyone should have to do that. I really, really think so. But
I mean, the NFL's like weekly, like daily participation reports.
Yeah. And you got, this guy didn't practice today. Like that pops up, right? Like, and I mean, we'll never get that in college football, but they should have a little bit more transparency when it comes to injuries on game day and stuff. I think, his ability as a runner and them containing him, it's going to be big in this game. I think you look at last year against South Carolina, and I mean, obviously he just ate when they went and played against LSU. Second half of that game, a lot of that was like zone read stuff. And obviously Notre Dame's got to do a good job of the zone read stuff in this game. But when they tried to play South Carolina and Texas later on, he got some yards scrambling, but he didn't hurt them. Like he never really hurt them, and that's why they couldn't score in those games, right? And then he wasn't a good enough passer to do anything against them. And frankly, too, that is one of those things where part of the reason why his passing grades and stuff look bad is because it was like, well, he had to play South Carolina's defense. He had to play Texas's defense late in the year. And that's the kind of thing that you want, like the same kind of, day for him to have against Notre Dame's defense. That's what they want to get from him. So he's going to get some yard. You just have to contain him that he doesn't just like kill them again and again, and they're going to have a pretty good plan where they will have to play some man in this game. You're not just going to come out and play zone all game, which he's only seen zone this whole year. I think it's 11.5% man coverage. That's all he's seen. And some of that is to combat him as a scrambler, and some of that also is Utah State and UTSA.
They're going to play man against these guys? No way, right?
No,
that's
they're not going to. Yeah,
right. That's a product of a large part. It's partly because of him as a runner, but it's in large part because those teams don't have the athletes. Of course you're not going to play man and ask them to cover, especially when you can't really get the pressure. There's the give and take there. Just to go back to the Louisville game and the pressure we're talking about, Tyler Shough was pressured on 42% of snaps. Notre Dame was credited with 27 pressures per PFF. They get 27 pressures in this game to be clear, you can have more than one pressure on a play. So if three guys get free on one play, you get credited for 3 pressures. That's the deal there. So that's just something to keep in mind. If Notre Dame gets that kind of pressure in this game, I would bet on them to win. Rob Wozniak is putting in quotes I really appreciate that, Rob. Thank you very much. He's putting in quotes from the Freeman press conference. Says the key for Notre Dame versus Texas A&M is improved passing game, is mixing up coverages and techniques. The Aggies have a lot of home run threats. The Irish have to keep them in front of them. And we talked about this on Tuesday as well. Notre Dame needs to get better with disguising their looks and showing the quarterback one thing and then doing something else. They need to get better at that. That was not good enough against Miami. And maybe that's a product of a first year coordinator, just trying to get a feel for his defense and what his guys are capable of and that sort of thing. It has to change. You cannot continue to give teams the look that they expect and then you go and do that thing, right? These coaches will figure it out. They always figure it out, and they can do a good job, especially against scheming up. Another one from Rob Wozniak says, Marcus Freeman, I think one of the key factors against Texas A&M is going to be the punt battle. Very inspiring. That's what people want to hear. The punters are going to be – it's always important. To that effect, I thought James Mandel was, really good against
It was Miami. Very good.
He did a good job. The couple of those, pooch punts were just excellent, right? Anytime they're fair catching inside the 10, you're winning.
Well, I would say too. Yeah, I saw the thing because Matt had updates on it too, and what he said, based on what Matt has here, punt battle will be key. A&M will be aggressive on punt return, and he has to be better returning kickoffs if they get a chance. So it's the return game. I think punt coverage is going to be big, and I think that is the thing. Rendell has to have a good game because he has to. I think some people will be like, God, it was a 39-yard punt. You get a 39-yard punt, it's a 39-yard punt and there's no return. Great. You just can't have a 39-yard punt, that's a line drive to that guy.
Even a 10-yard return on that, it's net 29. That's no good.
Yeah. So it's net is going to be big. And also too, Tyler White is their punter and he's exceptional at no one returns his kicks. He's one of the I think it was 4th in punt return percentage. Only 6.5% of their punts got returned last season. That's probably going to be the case in this game. Notre Dame's not going to have do that. He did get a punt block last year. Just one, obviously, but that is something where hopefully not a lot of teams come after the punter. Not a lot of teams. Notre Dame is obviously one of them.
Yeah.
Maybe they affect him. Maybe they do something. Maybe also it's road. How's that going to, impact all that kind of thing too. So, but that I think, field position, it is always one of those sneaky things that is a big important thing. And you think Notre Dame lost a turnover battle, turned it over twice in their own end zone, even though they punted well and did all that. They didn't get enough in the return game. They weren't really good enough on special teams. And there's so many games last year where even you could say, where Greg, you've always talked about how there were so many games last year where 3 series in a row where they just really didn't do much on offense. A lot of times they got the spark from, hey, they ran a fake punt or they did something that changed the momentum there. Or Bryce Young got his hand on a punt or whatever, right? There was something there that changed the momentum for Notre Dame on special teams. Not even taking like the Jaden Harrison like return out of it, like taking that all out of it. Like, I think there's just a lot there that can be. You want to see Notre Dame do that because that was a big part of their game and really kind of has been a big part of their game for a while.
Yeah, hidden yards are hidden yards are talked about all the time. You can change the game with special teams. That's why Marty Biaggi, like he's itching. He's itching to Marty Biaggi's got to be itching to do something, right? He's got a whole bunch of stuff that he's got out for these teams. But yeah, game changers, big changes that you can make. If you want to make a big change to your fitness, but you don't want to go all crazy and train for a marathon or whatever it might be, but you want to get out there and get moving around, you're a little bit older, you can do so with pickleball. H2 Pickleball, founded by Notre Dame alum Todd Hill, is teaming with fellow alums Jack Gibbs and Will Howell, a top 10 pickleball pro, to bring Notre Dame fans to the Notre Dame Pickleball Crew League. Besides football, what better way to connect and engage Notre Dame fans than through pickleball? Membership is free, and members will have access to special pickleball events and discounts. The first event will be a special or a tournament before the Purdue game with medal rounds played on campus. A portion of the proceeds will go to the Rockne Athletics Fund to support Notre Dame student athletes. Contact Todd at h2pickleball.com or 574-339-5195 to join the league. And be sure to visit the H2 Pickleball facility in Mishawaka when you are in town. H2 Pickleball is located at 55801 Evergreen Plaza Drive in Mishawaka, Indiana. Notre Dame's offense, Jamie, I to be honest, like, if Cassius Howell hadn't just gone God mode in that game, I would feel very secure in my position that it's like A&M doesn't have a great defensive or like terrible defensive line by any means, but they don't have like a great one. Cassius Howell doing what he did is definitely, I mean, look, I think maybe there's an instinct to like brush it away. For me, it's like not only did he win 3 straight times, but he won like 3 different kind of ways, which it was like super impressive.
It was insane. Yeah.
Yeah. So look, that's a factor.
He ran the hoop, did a push pull, had another like inside counter swipe move. Like, I don't know, like for people, D-line people, that is like he basically hit the
Holy Grail, like
the Holy Grail, like the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, like he did it all in 3 straight plays. Like,
yeah,
it's hard to win in a variety of ways. I mean, also like, not that Notre Dame's tackles didn't play great in the first game, but like that poor left tackle, like
it is a tough time.
That poor left tackle. He is a great pass rusher. He's very, very good. He was top 5 pass rush grade, power 4 edge rushers last year, 17 and a half havoc plays in 24. 27.6% win rate versus true pass sets in 24. And this year it's 26.5%. So he's been great. And he is great as a pass rusher. And he was their best pass rusher last year, most consistent. That is a guy, but they don't have it. It's not quite where they have they got Bain and then Messidor. They don't have that, where they had like the 3 guys who were like, man, these guys are just like, you can't really give extra to so many guys. Maybe put a little bit extra to Scorden, but not quite this. I think this is a game you have to be aware, like Cassius Howell's lined up there.
Yeah.
We got to know. You got to know. And that's got to be like alert all that time. And obviously they're going to run different things with him. They'll run stunts and they'll try to get him. I imagine they'll move him around a little bit too, right? To try to get different looks. But also too, I would, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, just me and you texting yesterday, like on some of those obvious passing downs, they got to run. Because that also slows down a guy like that, because he's like ready to explode off the line, and you want that guy to upfield and be like, okay, we're gonna get you. Then we're gonna hit.
Can I bring something up about this?
Yeah.
Would you say, because I feel kind of strongly about this, would you say run, don't throw a screen?
Yes, that's
Okay,
what I would say.
Why?
One, because I think screen works on like a 3rd and long if it's like they're bringing pressure because guys are going attacking you, and it's like, oh no, now they got to chase.
Yeah.
And if they can't catch them in time, like on the first, Jordan Bain play on 3rd down on the first series against Miami, you can hit it for a big play. Like that play was actually very close to being a house call. Like they almost caught him there. It ended up being a big play. But if you call that and they're rushing 4, and you're dropping a bunch of people, they might drop someone right where you're going to throw that screen, right? So but if their first thing is they're thinking, well, I got to get to my spot, like I got to get to the hook curl or whatever off the line. We got 6 guys lined up in line, and the one guy's thinking, as soon as that ball snap, I got to get to hook curl because he's not thinking run. Well, that guy just steps back. It can open up. Obviously, too, another thing that happens, and you see this a lot too, where teams overload a side on a pass rush thing, and it might be just a look because they're going to run a bunch of games and stuff like that too. But if you catch them in that, I mean, Notre Dame has done it a bunch of times, right, where they've caught teams in that. Teams have caught Notre Dame in that too. It happens all the time. I think you see way more just straight, like, we're going to just like not even run a draw. Like we're running like just straight inside zone.
Yeah.
Against like 3rd and 14, we're running inside zone. And because teams are backed off, and then you're probably going to get 7 just based off of the look you're getting, because it's like a light box.
They're giving it to you.
They're giving it to you. And then it's like, well, can your guy make a safety miss or a backer miss and then get the rest, right? And pretty much, like, if you look at like the Jadarian Price touchdown last year, that was a play where there was like it was 1st and 25 because I think I can't remember. There was like a block in the back or something specific, right? That happened for that. And then they ran a play and they got it to 2nd and 14, right? Well, they get in a 2nd 14. It's a pass down. A&M's going too high. They have a light box. Torian York is dropped off way further than he would be if he was thinking that it was going to be a run. They just hand the ball off. Like, it was not like a draw or anything. It was just like just an easy run play. Well, York had to close so much ground on Price. He's a very reliable tackler with City. He was hugging air, like not even close. Those safeties who aren't the best tacklers, period. Bad angle, boom, house call. And obviously you got to make a block at receiver, and they did. So that's the kind of thing that can really, really, boost them. Yeah. So I think that's like.
Yeah, to me, first of all, UTSA got them with this a bunch. And to me, I don't, because you said it on the screen stuff. It requires timing. It requires, a good throw. It requires a good catch. And then it requires good blocking. And it requires them to be in the look that you want them to be in. If you just run it, well, then you're just running it, right? And they're not playing aggressive run because it's 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 10 or whatever. You're kind of going to get a look that is favorable to you running the ball. And then I'm a big make these corners, make these safeties tackle your guys, specifically Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, because they're just not a good tackling secondary. I mean, look, Notre Dame's secondary, like I love the way they tackle, and I love the way they tackled last year and how they come up. And these corners and these safeties, they're just not that good at it. They're vulnerable there. Make them tackle you. Give it to your best elusive guys and make them go get it. Because look, we saw a number. The UTSA one, and we were talking about this too, Jamie. The 75-yard run that they gave up at the start of the second half, it's one thing to get gashed. You're in a bad look. It's one thing to get gashed. You're like, oh, they hit us. They were in a defense and we didn't expect this and they just got us, right? UTSA went heavy and A&M went heavy. It's an 8 in the box and the guy's untouched. And not only is he untouched, the safety completely misses. It's one of the worst misses you can have. Like your only job is to basically slow him down. He doesn't do any of that. Like when you have that on your resume, when you have that on tape, like that is a vulnerability that they need to be run on as often as possible, in my opinion, in order to get that done. And so that's why I'm like, don't be cute with screens.
Give them opportunity. Yeah, give them opportunities to make those guys make the tackle.
Yeah,
make those guys make the tackle as much as possible. I think that's and really too. Or if you're going to run screens, run them to the backs. Run them to the backs because Faison is good after catch. I'm not saying like the other guys aren't good after the catch, but those other guys are the best at making guys miss. So I think that is important.
Does it matter, getting back to the offensive line, does it matter? Do you think the style and the type of player that Reuben Bain was how is that? Because it's different, right? Reuben Bain is big and thick, and he is very, very strong. Cassius Howell is smaller. He's not as big. He's very elusive, right? He's very quick, and he's very athletic. He's very powerful. No, I can't think of the explosive. He's very explosive, but he doesn't have that size and that thickness. Do you think this helps? Let's just say Anthony Knapp. Do you think this helps Anthony Knapp? You think it hurts? Do you think it's just kind of a different challenge that he has to deal with? What have you seen from Anthony Knapp? Can he handle this better? Do you think it's more of a challenge? What do you think about it from his point of view?
I mean, I always think that a guy like Bain is going to be tougher it's going to be tougher to deal with because I think with like Knapp, if you look at like how Knapp handled Bain in that game, like he got bull rushed. Yeah. Like that's how he got beat bad. I mean, there was the one play where he blew it on the, I don't know, want to put it 100% on him. I don't know if it was the protection call, but the one where he just got beat straight out on the edge.
Yeah.
Like that's not something, if you watch like Anthony Knapp last year, that's not how he got beat a lot. Right? Like he got beat like going and scored and like beaten on a slick spin move. He got beat speed to power, right? And that is one thing too, right? When you're like, 300 pounds, whatever. It's not always the same because there's guys who are like 330 and can't beat speed to power, but that's a thing. That's a thing where specifically in the Miami game, Bain whooped him in that way. Like that was where he had the most struggle. Like he was like in Carr's lap. So I think it's like better in that terms where it's like, he's going to, not have to deal with that as much because that isn't Howell's game quite as much. But Howell just, like we just mentioned, that he could beat you in all these different ways. That it's like he gets you. If you open up the gate against him, you're done.
Yeah,
I think where the big difference between a guy like Howell and Bain is like when you play the run game, right? Like Howell is an awesome chase player. Like if you run counter at him, I don't even think it's actually a good idea to run counter at him too, because he is like a guy just kind of like Boubacar on that one play where he, crashed down and made that play there. Maybe he's supposed to meet the trap, but he's just so quick that he was able to go down and shoot and make that play anyways. And that's Howell. And Howell made a play similar to that against Notre Dame last year, right? Like he can do that. I would say that one thing with, Howell though, like one of Robert Henry's touchdowns who's the back for UTSA who had the big game, like he's there, left tackle, point of attack. He's like, trying to get off a block, but he's not pressing the guy. He isn't winning at the point of attack. He peeks inside. He gets washed inside, bounce outside, touchdown.
It's
right?
Really
like
bad.
It's a bad play, right? And I wouldn't say like he does that all the time, but he's not a guy who is going to dominate. He's not a set the edge guy.
Reuben Bain is not getting washed like that.
Heck no.
Yeah. So there's a difference there. And, the physicality, that was the thing with Bain, I thought. It's like, man, that he's just so physically imposing. That's another piece, right? It's one thing to be going against an athlete who's just like a stud, explosive guy. It's another thing where it's like, man, that guy's got some man strength that you have to deal with. Notre Dame's wide receivers against Texas A&M's DBs. How do you kind of view that matchup?
I think that like Will Lee is a very good corner. Obviously, he was the guy that last year played a pretty good, didn't tackle well in that game, but he played a pretty good game for the most part against Bo Collins. He lost on that one 50-50 ball, but that was a great catch and a great back shoulder play. Other than that, he played pretty well, and he was their best corner. He's their best cover guy. He's a guy who can get beat. He can get beat inside. He can fall for double moves. He got beat on a double move in the Utah State game. I think that matchup with him, Malachi Fields, is kind of be must-see TV, because those are two guys that are probably on the verge of being day 2-ish type picks. And it's which one of these guys is the better guy? Which guy actually might be a day 2 pick, and which guy maybe not, right? So right. I think that's going to be a really good matchup. I think they're better. I don't think Desrick's not convinced. He's a former 5-star kid. He did not play well last year. He hasn't really been tested this year. I think like his brother too, who was also another Elias Ricks, who played at LSU. A lot of grabby, just guesses a lot. I think that's a guy who can got. I think those safeties are just poor tacklers. Mm-hmm. They're poor tacklers. And I think one of the things too is and there's somebody who wrote on Six Thoughts, because they think that they were Elko is going to really, put Carr in a vice because their secondary or their back seven is really good. I mean, the linebackers were pretty good. The back seven was not good last year. That was their problem, right? And it was tackling, but it was also in coverage. They were not great. And it's all the same guys. Tyreek Chappelle is back at nickel. I mean, he played in the Notre Dame game. He's a good player for sure. So I think that matchup with him and Greathouse is going to be a good one. Him and Pauling, that is going to be good. And they're going to have to throw to those guys in this game. But those safeties, I don't think any of those safeties are good. They haven't played good. And one of the reasons why, they weren't good and they weren't able to do some of the stuff that they wanted to do up front, and maybe weren't as good with some of the pressure stuff because they couldn't bring pressure as much because they didn't feel as confident in the back end.
Yeah.
And now they haven't really been tested that much. Not to say they're not better this year, but if it's the same guys that you didn't really trust last year and they didn't all of a sudden insert so say 2017 Notre Dame secondary to 2018, obviously there's a couple big changes, right? Watkins got replaced by Pride, right? Late in the year. And then all of a sudden Pride, and then Pride and Love, and then Aloy Gilman came in, and Jalen Elliott upped the level, and Aloy Gilman replaced Nick Coleman, who was a fine player, but Aloy Gilman was a different level player. And who was there Aloy Gilman, right? They didn't add anybody that makes me think man, they're going to be great. I think that is one area where there's definitely questions about them. Notre Dame might actually have a big advantage in the game. Obviously, Carr's got to be able to take advantage of it. I think they got to do some stuff. They got to, as much as you want to run the ball, and I know that they got to take some chances on first down. They got to throw the ball because that's when you're going to get a chance to take some of those shots. So I hope they're aggressive there.
I feel like they will be. I mean, I wonder how they'll react to all of the narrative. If Denbrock will give into that, I kind of feel like maybe he won't. but you also don't want to. It's so hard, like as a play caller, and I. It's funny, like when I'm coaching, like I kind of feel the same way. Like there's things you want to do, but it's like I also don't want to get caught up in like you don't want it to be the second quarter and it's like, man, Jeremiah Love hasn't really touched the ball again. Like you call things and it's like as long as they work and you're moving the ball, then you can get to sort of the other stuff. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, is Mike Denbrock going to – because I do think if they open it up, like they do have advantages, like you say. And I know Mike Elko he's a DB guy and he's a safety guy specifically. I just watch him and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, that doesn't look good. Right, like you watch it, and it's like I don't think that looked good when they give up these runs, and it's like the corner's washing down and the safety's taking a bad angle against UTSA. Like, what am I supposed to say? Right, like what can I say? Like it's just not good.
And this is the other thing too, because go watch Duke's defense when he was there. Duke was good on the back end, like that was their strength because they didn't. Dwayne Carter was a stud up front for sure. They didn't have a lot of – their linebackers were not good. They were solid up front, and Dwayne Carter was a stud. But they didn't have, like, any true, like, R.J. Oben. I mean, people seen what R.J. Oben was, right? Like, he was a plus pass rusher, maybe not great everywhere else. And they didn't have, like – their secondary, even though they were – a bunch of mini-me's, a lot of like 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" guys. They were good players, smart players. They could do a lot of different things with them. They had like safeties who came up and tackled well, like really, really well. They were very good tacklers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you wouldn't trade in terms of traits. You would not trade Texas A&M secondary for Duke secondary in terms of how like they actually execute the defense and play at a level, tackle, play football. That Duke secondary is way better than this Texas A&M, at least from what we've seen. And I don't know. It's like one of these things too. Like, obviously, this is one of these games. Is a huge game for A&M because they kind of like they're always kind of they haven't won a big road game in like a decade.
Right.
So it's an important game for them. It's an important game for Elko to kind of be like, last year he kind of came out and was talking a lot of smack about like, this is a real program after they, were 7-1. Then they lost 4 of the next 5 games and didn't look good down the stretch. This is one of those games where they lost last year. You go into Notre Dame's house, you win this game. It's a huge boost for them. They're still going to recruit well like they're doing right now, but it's a different thing if you do that. They have, as much as Notre Dame needs to kind of like, I would say less prove, like reestablish that it's like, hey, this is who we are, right? This is who we are. We are this good, right? That's what Notre Dame needs to do in this game. For A&M, it's all proof. Like, prove it. They don't have a lot of guys that you would say like, or just in general, they don't have things there like you could say like Craver and Concepcion, they look great right now. It's like, well, if Craver has like 1 catch for 30 yards in this game and that's it, they'll be like, well, man, he had those games against UTSA and Utah State. Like, it's prove it. Concepcion, man, he was great as a freshman in the ACC. ACC Freshman of the Year, dominant. By the way, he got shut down against Notre Dame in that game. But averaged 4.8 yards per reception. It's a prove-it game for him, too, right? Like, there's even, I would say, Le'Veon Moss, who is a good back. He was a very good back. Preseason All-SEC. He was, like, second-team All-SEC last year, and he missed, like, the last, 4 or 5 games of the year. He was very good. But he's coming off the ACL, and I thought he looked really good on that touchdown run. Looked more like the guy he was last year. Before that, obviously, they've protected him. He hasn't really done much this year. I think he's got 13 carries. But there's some prove it with him too, right? Where it's like prove that you are healthy and you are that guy, that same guy, right? And or their offensive line where it's like they were hyped up a lot, like they got all 5 guys coming back, and Armand Reed Adams is an All-American candidate and stuff. PFF's top run blocking grade and all this stuff for interior linemen. They didn't really play great in the first couple games. They didn't play bad, but not dominant. It wasn't like, what you would have thought for like, hey, this team's winning the Joe Moore Award, right? Yeah. So there's a lot for Notre Dame in terms of like, hey, you got to prove like you are who you are, but there's a ton of prove it stuff for A&M too, which is kind of what makes the game so interesting, right? There's a lot of ways it can go.
Yeah. This stat comes from Dave Caulfield, the meteorologist over at ABC 57. He sent this over to me over DM. He's the man. And for the kickoff temps, 80 degrees around kickoff, no humidity, which is nice. So we got a nice day. It's going to be a nice night. Fast track for Notre Dame. Notre Dame is combined 16-2 against teams from Texas at Notre Dame Stadium. The last loss to a team from Texas at Notre Dame Stadium was in 1951, October 13th, 1951 against SMU. So there is a lot for A&M to prove, for a team from Texas to prove. And like Notre Dame has a lot to prove. Like it's such a huge game for them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's one of those games like Marcus Freeman doesn't lose these games. It's like not at home when you're favored in like a must-win game. Like his team is
against
always
the wall
ready to
game.
go.
His teams have been ready. That's just what it is.
I do think they'll play better. I think like just the home environment will help them. I think playing on a nice day without any threat of like rain or mist or moistness or whatever it might be. Like I think that helps them. Right? Like just the conditions, right? Like having that, I think the crowd will be good. I think it'll be a lively crowd. I think people will be very excited. And look, I just think looking at Texas A&M and the way that they played, if Notre Dame is the team that I kind of thought they would be, and it's kind of hard to say because I've only seen them play once, and it was against Miami, and it was like a tough game. I think Notre Dame is better than them. Just looking at Texas A&M and looking at that, I think Notre Dame is the better team. And look, I also thought it last time too. I just think like, Mike's our site owner, Mike Frank, the Godfather, is kind of on the show me thing. I'm kind of like, it's almost like prove it to me that you're kind of not. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Right. That's kind of where I'm at.
Kind of how I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm kind of at it with that's where I'm at with this team. I understand where someone else would come up with, like people call Mike pessimistic or whatever. I think he's looking at realistic concerns and voicing those concerns. Right. So I don't think he's pessimistic. For me,
that's also just Mike. Mike has done this for years. He's done this for decades, and he has seen the, Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown a lot more than everyone specifically covering the team too. And he's seen it. Right. So there's a lot of things that go, like I wrote about it in 6 Thoughts too. Like there's a lot of people, I understand, like people have scars from being a Notre Dame fan. I totally get it. And they're still, I would say, I come into this game, there's questions about, I think it's a big Chris Ash. Like there's still a lot. It happened just like there was questions about Marcus Freeman after that first game. Right. So there's questions about Chris Ash. There's questions about like, hey, those guys who didn't play well. It's like, I think they're going to play well. I'm pretty sure, but I'm like, okay, well, let's see them play well and do exactly that. I think there's obviously questions about like, handling success because they handled it so well all of last season, right? All up until then. And it's like, well, now they had the whole off season with people saying, hey man, you're really good. And we're like, man, this team is good. It's deep and whatever, right? It's like, there's questions about that and whether or not like, they really can do that. There's questions about like, well, you had a plan for what you wanted to do. It's like, well, can you flip that plan if it's not working? Like adjusting. So I think those are real, genuine questions. I just think I'm always, it's like, it's funny because like the show me thing, it's like, I've seen there's enough people on the team. I think if that game happened last year against A&M, I would have been huge, like, show me the rest of the way, because that would have been a thing where you're like, there's so many new guys. There's so many new guys, and it's like, well, Bowen didn't play well, and Wagner didn't play well, and Knapp didn't play well, and Hines, like, whatever, right? You would have said all these things, and whatever. But I've seen those guys play well in big games against like great
in the biggest
opponents.
games Notre Dame has won in 30 years.
Yes. So I don't think that all of a sudden went away. Like, I just don't believe that. And I also believe, like, it's just a lot easier to play football at home in college football.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
It really is. And that's, like, honestly too, why, if you think about like how Notre Dame's positioned, that's why if Arkansas was at home, you would view that game differently. Like, you view all these games differently. Home and road is a very big deal. It is a very big deal. So I just think that playing at home is going to be better. I think a lot of those guys are going to play like the guys that they were last year, and maybe even better than they were last year, because they should be better, right? Yeah. Based on like development and all that too. And I still believe like there's guys like KVA and Boubacar and, like a Tay Johnson or whatever, right? Like, obviously didn't make a lot of plays in the first game, but like, I mean, who's to say this isn't a Tay Johnson breakout game or something? Like, there's going to be that stuff, because it happens all the time, and it happens every year. And it's going to be about, well, if there are other guys that can step up, or like that right guard position is so much better in this game compared to where it was. And I think it's a natural progression. The way they've responded against not Texas, or after losses under Freeman, they just responded really well. And he's known how to push the right buttons after that. So I feel pretty confident that they're going to come out like, yes, they're playing a good team. Anyone can lose to a good team. And if things don't go your way, whatever, it can happen. They're going to play so much better. And I would be shocked if they played the same kind of game that they played against Miami. I would be shocked.
Yeah, I kind of co-sign all of that. I just think, like you said, it's easier to play at home and everything. And I just don't think because the thing is like, if you have two kind of big games to start the year and you don't win any of them, it just kind of shows something about the program, like in a way that's like you said, they're too good for that. I just think they're too good for that. And I think there's quality there, and I think they'll show the quality. It's like I said, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they've shown better play, a higher level of play, all the key players, right? And they're still going to have the best player on the football field in Jeremiah Love. And that often matters as well. They need to take care of it. Prediction, Jamie?
Yeah, I'm going to take Notre Dame. Notre Dame 35, Texas A&M 21. I think it'll be close. And then Notre Dame will get a score late, in the fourth quarter, and kind of, it's not going to be a comfortable win. It'll be closer than that score looks, but I think that's how it's going to end up.
Yeah. I got 31-24, Notre Dame. I had 31-28 for the longest time. And then I just thought, I don't know. I think the Trey Zune stuff kind of makes me feel like I'm going to dock them 4 points for the ambiguity of that. You know, that's just basically what it is. I think it'll be a close. I think Notre Dame is better, but I think it's the kind of game where it's like you're better. I mean, I've been thinking about the Louisville game this whole kind of time, and that was 31-24. So I kind of view it the same kind of way. I think Texas A&M is kind of that caliber team. So we'll see. We'll see. They could. I mean, you know, you never know. But that's going to do it for our show today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we go live. I'll be back, or I'll be at the game. So the way it'll work is Jamie and Michael do the post-game show, and then I'll be producing that, right? So I can't be on it, but I'll produce it and run it for them from the press box. I can't show my face or talk because those are the rules. Can't do that in the press box. So, but it's going to be Mike and Jamie on the post-game. And then I'm going to see if I can try to do like a pre-recorded like recap show from my hotel. I'm going to get no sleep anyway. Might as well do some work, Jamie, because my flight is super early on Sunday. So that's going to be the deal. Have a good weekend, everyone. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you soon. Keep hitting and hustling.